Okay, so in the last class we left from this point, which is encoding and decoding, and today we will cover from we will start from this point now. Basically, encoding and decoding is a process in which you take an image, you look at it, and you translate that into your own meaning. Like, what do you mean from that uh, image? So, if you will look at it here, all images are both encoded and decoded. You also encode an image and you also decode an image. An image or an object is encoded with meaning and in its creation or production and when it is placed in a given setting or context. So when you're encoding the meaning means when you're producing the image. When you're producing the image, you have in mind like what you will be putting in that, what you will be uh, like constructing, what do you mean about that, and what you want people to think about that image. That process is known as the encoding process. And it is then decoded by viewers when it is consumed by them. So when people view the image, they look at the image, they decode the image. So encoding is when it is produced and what the producer wants the people to think about it, or what he actually wants the image to be. That process is known as the encoding process. And when it is shown to the people and what do the people think about that, it is known as the decoding process. So we have two different processes here, encoding and decoding. So these process works in tandem. So they works like opposite of each other, together each other. So it depends. So let's see how does encoding and decoding works in a television show. How in a television show encoding and decoding is being done. Now there are three positions viewers can take as decoders. How people can become a decoder, what kind of decoding process we have here. We have three different types of decoding processes here. One is dominant hegemonic reading, then we have negotiated reading, then we have oppositional reading. Now dominant hegemonic reading is when we identify with the hegemonic position and receive the dominant message of an image or text in an unquestioning manner. Dominant hegemonic reading means when directly the viewer identifies the meaning behind the image. Means like whatever the producer wants the people to think, they actually get the same idea, and without any kind of like questioning or without any further investigation, they they are able to understand it. That is dominant hegemony, where there is no uh, process of interpretation. They just see the image and clearly they understand what the image actually means. Now, negotiated reading. Negotiated reading means negotiate an interpretation from an image and its dominant meaning. When the viewer see the image, they actually do not understand what it is at the first. They start interpreting it. They start uh, making an an assumption like what this image will be, what this image is, and start doing the negotiation about it. Now, oppositional reading completely disagree with the ideology position embodied in an image or rejects it altogether. In negotiate reading, they see the image, they try to understand what it is. At some point, they reach to the meaning, but they do some sort of their own interpretation. But in oppositional reading, is that whatever they see in the image, they completely get a different meaning out of it. That is known as the oppositional reading. When any viewer looks at the image, but totally different idea comes in his mind. That's the oppositional reading. Now, the dominant Hakmanic position can be said to decode images in a relatively passive manner. It can be argued that few viewers actually consume image in this manner. So usually what happens, if we talk about the dominant Hakmanic position, the uh, usually it has been seen that, and it has been encountered that people usually are not in that position. The dominant Hakmanic position is not easy. It's not very common. So a very few amount, maybe 100 out of five, or maybe even one person can be a dominant Hakmanic position holder. He can easily understand what the uh, what the producer wants the person to see. There will be some change, like uh, changes or different kind of changes. In negotiated reading, viewers actively struggle with dominant meanings, allowing culturally and personally significant meanings to transform and even override the meanings imposed by producers and broader social forces. Mostly people are with the idea of negotiated reading. They will always try to interpret or try to bring up their own meaning or mix their own meaning in the real meaning. So mostly you will see people holding the negotiated reading position. So image decoders are active meaning makers and not merely passive recipients. So usually when anyone is producing an image, he is trying to add a passive or more like an active process so that people can easily understand. Okay, so let's go to the next slide here. Now, how would a dominant Hakmanic reading of the show Who Want to Be Millionaire be different from a negotiated reading? Now, if you see this show, which is basically the Who Want to Be Millionaire, in this show, what is the dominant Hakmanic reading and what is the negotiated reading? So let's think about like see this. This can be uh, further, you can say, argued or further explained with the appropriational and oppositional reading. Now, appropriation can be form of oppositional production and reading. To appropriate is to take something for oneself without consent, to steal. Uh, okay, sorry. I think this slide is a little different here. So to continue this, just what the process is like here. What the book actually means, what the writer actually means is that when you see a show, so there is a dominant Hagmanic reading where the people wants to see exactly what you're looking at, just like this show, Who Wants to Be Millionaire, and the meaning that you're producing out of it is like, is this show real? Is this staged? Is the question already been told to the participant? Is it a like a show with same like sort of questions, or like different kind of things like that. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, now appropriation and oppositional reading is completely different topic. So it does not have any link with the previous slides. So still I will be just uh, okay. So sorry about connecting it previously to the previous slide. So it's a complete different topic here. So appropriation and oppositional reading, what it is. Appropriation can be a form of oppositional protection and reading. To appropriate is to take something for oneself without consent. To steal. Appropriate mean you take an art and or any work of any artist and without his knowledge, without his uh, like thinking or without anything, uh, without like telling him, or you can say stealing the artwork. So the culture appropriation is the process of borrowing and changing the meaning of cultural products, slogans, images, or elements of fashion. So here, appropriate actually means stealing, but culture appropriation means you are borrowing and changing the meaning of the culture products, slogans, images, or elements of fashion. If you remember in the last a few classes, I told you about the subvertisement, the McDonald advertisement. You took the McDonald, you made a submitted like subvertisement out of it. You made a fun out of it, which is basically subvertisement, or you can say uh, like kind of guerrilla art movement, something like that. So it is basically a process of like subvertisement. Now, Andy Warhol appropriated Da Vinci's The Last Supper, the very famous painting of of Leonardo da Vinci, The Last Supper. What Andy Warhol do? Andy Warhol was a pop artist, a painter who was famous for painting pop arts. He took the idea, or you can say the visual of the Da Vinci's Last Supper, one of the very famous paintings. And later on, what he did was that he took the painting and he reproduced the painting in his own pop style. So this is Andy Warhol's work, and this one over here, if you will see, like this one over here, if you will see, is the Andy Warhol's work, and this is the original Da Vinci's work. So what he did was that he took this artwork and produced his own artwork in his own style of pop art. Now, as viewers, we can also appropriate images and text by strategically altering their meaning to suit our purposes. Sometimes what we do is that when we are looking at things, maybe the meaning is something different, but when we are negotiating the meaning, when we are trying to understand the meaning, what we are doing is that we are just looking at it, and then to suit our own purpose, we alter the meaning. We come out of our own meaning. For example, Great Garbro has a cult following among the followers of like those like those kind of things which are LGBTQ. Okay, so viewers appropriate her sometimes gender bending performances. So when people look at Great Garbo, so they come out of their own meaning of out of it. They bend the meaning out of it. So this is the method of oppositional reading. Now here, bricolage is a tactic of appropriation, meaning literally to make, do, or piecing together one's culture with whatever it is at hand. However, is the owner this lowrider changing the meaning of an automobile? So, if you will look at this automobile, like mobile, it is basically an artwork over here. You can see that following more of, like most of the religious pictures. However, if you will see, the image of a vehicle which is a kind of a low rider image. Now, low rider image is known as a very famous ride for you can you can see like a specific class of people in America, like who are rappers. Sometimes you can say thugs or those kind of like people. They use the low rider, and it has become an icon vehicle for them. So combining these two images, like the image on the car itself and the car itself, is basically not that people will easily understand. It will be like there will be a lot of oppositional reading. Now, appropriation, however, is not always an oppositional practice. For example, vintage thrift store clothing fashion originally associated with oppositional youth were appropriated by the mainstream fashion industry. So, when hegemonic forces reappropriate tactics of marginalized cultures into the mainstream, it is form of counter bricolage. Now, what is the counter bricolage? Now, counter bricolage or the reappropriation, what are these terms? When things are not in fashion, not in trend, but when you are bringing or forcing them to become the part of the trend or become the part of this that whole uh, process, is known as the reappropriation, or you can say the cultural bricolage. For example, uh, in this picture, if you will see that it is an advertisement of Gap is a clothing line, a company there. What they did here is that they tried to bring the vintage clothing or the old clothing back into the fashion. So they use the youth to portray that part so that people will see that, and then they will like they will get attracted towards it. Their idea might change. They will buy those clothes, and it will become like a trend. So this is basically uh, appropriation and cultural privilege. So when hegemonic forces reappropriate tactics of marginalized cultures into the mainstream, it is a form of counter privilege. So when you are trending anything, that is basically the culture privilege. Now, how is the mainstream of rap music an example of counter privilege? How does the mainstream culture constantly mine the margins of cultural meaning? So when we look at the rap music, how it became the counter privilege, how the rap music is becoming the like the popular. So, how does the mainstream culture constantly mine the margins of culture for meaning? Mostly, if you will watch movies, how you can make the rap music famous through movies. Movies everyone watches, but when you have movies which is based on the crime scenes and those kind of intense scenes, they always put the rap music behind in the background. So when they do that, automatically people will get attracted towards it. They will start listening towards it, and then whoever is singing becomes little famous of that, like because of that song which is being played behind the scene. Plus, like clothing companies, they hire musicians, rappers to uh, make the music to use their clothing line in the music videos, something. So fashion plus mix of movies and those kinds of things is making a counter breakage to make the rap music more trendy. So this is the whole about how viewers makes the makes meaning. Okay. and how they produce their own like meaning, how they encode and decode, how the different kind of hegemonics like reading works, how counter bricolage works. I hope everything is clear. Anyone who have question regarding this? Is everything clear? This chapter? Okay. So one thing about this is that there is a assignment here which is based on this chapter and previous chapter, and I will show you that assignment just now so you will get the idea what you have to do. Okay, now this assignment is due on 28th of February, and I will just explain you what it is. So I hope every one of you can see this assignment here. Now, here there is a culture jamming project, just like in the slides I told you about the subvertisement and uh, using the same like using an already like produced advertisement and converting that advertisement into subvertisement. So a couple of times in this chapter, like today also, last class also, I have explained about this one. Reappropriation is one of the part of it, and those kind of things. So for this project, you are going to create two original culture jams. Now, one advertisement needs to be juxtaposed of the two images. Let me do one thing. Let me open this reference material here, which is this document window, so you will easily understand about what does this mean. So, culture jamming project. For this project, you are going to create two original culture jams. One advertisement need to be juxtaposition of two images with a specific advertisement and image that relates. So what you need to do is that you have to take an image of an advertisement which is already you can find on internet. Second advertisement needs to be a critique of product where you add, alter, subtract from the image. Now what you will do, same advertisement that you will get from the internet, you will criticize that, you will critique that. And how you will do that? Reproduce that advertisement on the right side and critique it. You can use Photoshop, you can use Pixlr, you can use any photo editing software that you know about how to work on. So all the details are given over here. So this is some example here. You will see that this is an let me zoom in. Okay, so this is zoomed in now. So you can see that this advertisement is about UGG, which is shoe brand, and the shoe brand uses wool inside. So for many like reasons, this is being criticized for using like for animal cruelty, because they use the wool from animals, but when they extract the wool, they harm the animals. So one of the subvertisement of this UGG is UG like it an example over here is that they use the word UGG, but then they added ly. So UGG is read as ugly. So UGGLY is read as ugly. So ugly is as ugly does. So they just wrote it as a subvertisement, as making a fun out of it. Now here in the second one, you will see that women's collection UGG, like a normal advertisement. Here this is a normal advertisement as well. This is also a normal advertisement. But here is the subvertisement. Here is the subvertisement. They have put the image of a sheep tortured when its wool has been, like you can say, extracted. And here in the at bottom it's written, enjoy your boots, just showing a critique. So just used two images together, so no heavy duty like Photoshop effect over here, just placing next to each other, changing the name, adding the name, that's all. But the main thing is the like critique, the Sovietism. So is this part clear, everyone? Any question regarding the assignment? Any question? Everything is clear? Okay, so just go through it. Check this out. Yes, I can hear you.
Like a program we should use for the pictures, or we can use any program?
Basically, you don't have to use a very high definition, or you can say hi-fi sort of photo editing. You can use any software, just like if you will see, I have mentioned here, you can use Photoshop, or you can use Get Paint, or you can use any software. You just have the idea is that two images next to each other, how it will be like a advertisement, normal advertisement on the left side, right side you can critique that with any image. Just you have to put the image, no heavy duty sort of a uh, photo editing. It's a critique. So the critique which will be next to it should be like a, you can say, matches or suits the image. Just like the image which I showed you right now, it shows like the girl is wearing shoes with the wool, and the next it shows the sheep which is tortured to extract that wool. So they kind of connect to each other. So in Photoshop or in any software, it was so easy that he put the first image on the left side and the right image on the right side. That's all. And then he wrote, enjoy your boots. So that can be also done in like Microsoft Paint. That can be also done even inside Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. So any software, it's up to you. So there is no heavy duty of Photoshop or graphic design skills is required for it. It's just putting two images next to each other. Is it clear, this part?
All right, thank you, doctor.
Okay. Any question? Anyone? Is it all clear? Anyone have further question? Okay. So you can start working on your assignments. 28th is the deadline, so you have a couple of time to do that. Next class, I will start working with like we will start with the next chapter, which is basically chapter 3, spectatorship, power and knowledge. So we will start with that, and then later on we will do some other assignments and all those things. Okay, so hopefully I will start the class by 9 next time, because last class there was a like a meeting, and today I had something like came up, and I thought I will be finished by 9, but it took time, and by the time I finished it, it was already 9 like 25 or something like that. So but hopefully in next class it will start exactly at 9 o'clock. So take care everyone, and we'll meet uh, on Wednesday.